I was feeling really good, and then one morning, and then all of a sudden, I wasn't feeling good. And so, self awareness tells you to ask the questions of why did I feel this way all of a sudden? Did someone say something? What was I just doing? Was I on the phone and I saw something? I saw a notification? What was I just doing? And I realized that I was putting on my makeup a few minutes ago, and I had said things about myself before I had my makeup on. I had said, "You are starting to look old. You are starting to get those wrinkles coming through. You still have those acne scars." I said that to myself. Welcome to Journey to Joy Live by Dr. Enjoy. I'm your host, and today marks a very monumental episode. It is episode 30, milestone. Woohoo! 30 episodes, which means 30 weeks because I go live every week. Well, wait, I don't go live every week, but I produce a podcast every week. And sometimes we do pre recorded podcasting. In fact, the last 3 weeks has been that. January has been packed with awesome guests on Journey to Joy Live. We started out with a friend of mine, Mike. We were talking about parents with ADHD because not only do our kids, or some of our kids, not everybody, but we always think about ADHD happening in our kids, we can have it too as adults. So check that episode out. It was the first week in January, followed by another special guest, a friend of mine from medical school, Dr. Andrews. That title of that episode was New Year, New Joy. So, pretty much a lot of different things pertaining to the new year and being a new you, and whether we do New Year's resolutions or new goals, whatever we want to call it, but how to make practical goals that will last, short term goals, long term goals. So you definitely want to check that out. That was posted 2 weeks ago. And then last week, an awesome guest of mine, Dr. RJ, as we talked about burnout. Because we all can experience burnout here and there, whether it's just being burnt out because our kids are stressing us out, or family or friends are stressing us out, or being burnt out at work. And of course, that's mainly where we were at as far as burnout, was dealing with being a leader at work and getting burnt out and dealing with all the effects of burnout and how to deal with that. So check that episode out. And now today, this week, it is just me. And shout out to my husband because he took the babies out with him tonight. So I actually have the house to myself while going live. Thank you so much to my husband, because at first I was in my feelings when I thought he was going to leave me with the babies, and then I had to go live with the babies. But that did not happen, and I just kind of was like, okay, we'll figure this out. And luckily he took them with him. Why did I tell you that story? Because what is the topic of tonight? In my feelings. In your feelings. You ever experienced being in your feelings? Like I said, I have. We all experience being in our feelings. If we aren't human, or yeah, we're human, right? So if we're not experiencing feelings, then we're not human. You're going to experience feelings, right? But it doesn't mean you have to let the feelings control you. So what does that even mean? I'm in my feelings. I feel some kind of way. I feel some type of way. There's a lot there. So first of all, you're acknowledging that you're feeling some type of way. And it's a matter of, well, what are you feeling? Are you willing to figure that out? Because when you say, I'm feeling some type of way, are you labeling your emotions? Do you even know how you're feeling? And when I talk about feelings and being in your feelings, it's a matter of where are you at in your emotional intelligence. So that's really like the hidden message with today is emotional intelligence. A lot of times when emotional intelligence is talked about or taught, it's at work. What's your EQ, emotional quotient? Just like IQ is our how we achieve and our intelligence as far as testing and education and academics, but emotional quotient, our EQ, our emotional intelligence, also has to do with how we handle people, how we relate to people, how we experience empathy. Are we self aware? Can we manage our emotions? So a lot of times it's talked about with regards to how we are at work. How are we as a manager? How are we as a boss? How are we as an employee? How do we receive feedback? But emotional intelligence is important no matter what, whether it's at work or at home. Because how you manage your emotions or identify your emotions or see your emotions is important in every aspect of your life. So there's lots of directions I can go in. Honestly, there's a lot that can be talked about. So this might be a part one and then do a part two in the future. So we'll see what I get into. But wanted to start in with what does it even mean to be in your feelings? I wish I had some people here that's, you know, telling me what's it mean to be in your feelings. I see I have two viewers. Ah, I lost one. What does it mean when you in your feelings? Are you happy? Do people say that because they're happy? Or they say it because they're angry, probably, or they're upset, or worried, or scared, or what's the other one? Sad. But a lot of times people feel like they in their feelings because they were done some done wrong. Someone said something wrong to them. Someone it was the way they said it, wasn't what they said. Why they looking at me? Why is she staring at me? It's like what? They staring at you because they can stare. So either look away or say hi. We don't have to get in our feelings when it comes to something like that. But I mean, there's larger things that make us in our feelings or make us feel overwhelmed by emotion. Getting laid off or having a loss or um, your child ended up in jail. There's a lot of serious reasons why you would be in your feelings. So let's talk about some examples of that because really, emotional intelligence has different aspects to it. So, are you self aware? Are you paying attention to your emotions and what triggered you to feel that way? Are you empathetic? Are you able to acknowledge what other people are feeling or that they can feel something else and not just you? Self management is another part of emotional intelligence. Can you manage yourself when you having feelings, or do you let that rule you? We might not have control over the feelings that we get right away when something happens or when we're triggered, but the thoughts that come after or the thoughts that come before, we do have some control over those. I talk about it a lot that our thoughts can lead to certain emotions, and our emotions can lead to certain behaviors. But there's also another step in there where our thoughts can lead to certain emotions, and our emotions can lead to certain thoughts, which also could lead to certain behaviors. Think about it. So if you say, I feel disrespected, disrespect is actually not a feeling, it's a thought. It's you thinking, I am disrespected. I think I'm disrespected. No one really says that, but technically that's what it is. You think you disrespected. What's the feeling? Are you disrespected because you felt embarrassed? Because you're angry? So there's usually a feeling attached with that. So that self awareness of understanding, well, what was the trigger? What led to me thinking that I'm was disrespected in that situation? And that self management that comes with emotional intelligence, good level emotional intelligence, is what helps you know how to manage yourself and not just be drowning in those emotions just because they come. Emotions are a part of being a human, like I mentioned. So you're going to feel a certain way. Usually it comes with something physical, your heart racing, breathing really fast, or breathing faster, maybe not too fast. But there's some type of physical sensation that comes with it. But you don't have to meddle in your emotions and drown in your emotions and stay with it. So usually the first level of that is naming that emotion. What am I feeling? And why am I feeling that way? So some examples, like say you on a job and let me take a step back. Emotional intelligence is actually something that you can learn and that can be improved. It can be improved. So someone's personality might be a certain way, but emotional intelligence can be learned and can be improved upon. So just because someone gets a certain emotion or they're emotional or they can't regulate their emotions, it doesn't mean that can't be learned. So I want to first say that for sure. But when you do have poor emotional intelligence, it leads to ineffective communication in relationships. You go straight to the emotions, you go straight to yelling, you might be impulsive, you're not thinking before you act, so you're just saying whatever based on how you feel, and you might say things that you regret. So there goes frequent arguments and unresolved conflicts in your relationships. And that's on a personal level, and that could be at work. Someone who continues to get fired consistently and they just blame the job. Oh, that's because they yelled at me. That's because they told me what to do. You're at work. Why shouldn't they tell you what to do? And if you get fired for multiple jobs, come on now. There's some common thread in there. That common thread is you. So what is going on where you getting fired that much? Or why are you quitting so often? What's going on at every job? Somebody done did you wrong at every single job. Or they pulled the race card. Oh, no, wait. Well, you pulled the race card every time. Or you consistently think you're done wrong or discriminated against for different reasons. I'm not saying that you can't be discriminated against. But is it really every single job that that's happening? Well, maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. But still look into yourself. When everywhere you go, you are facing the same exact scenario or the same exact issues, look inside yourself and see what's there. What can be adjusted. And that's where that first piece of self-awareness comes in. Be aware of yourself. Don't just, blame everything on other people because it can affect you at work and it can affect you at home. And if your supervisor or manager or whoever it is giving you feedback, having low emotional intelligence can make you not be able to handle criticism because then you become defensive and angry. And you're like, well, well, so and so did this and blaming somebody else on what you did or it's on you when yes, you do need improvement. Of course, there's some feedback that maybe there involves some explanation, but don't receive it as a personal attack. And I know in my field, I have to be like, I cannot take things personal. I had people call me all types of names or talk about me in all different kinds of ways because I deal with people who are dealing with a lot of mental issues. So when you're in the mental health field, you have to have a high level of emotional intelligence, that self awareness, me being aware that, hey, I'm not any of those names that they call me. And the empathy that you need with emotional intelligence because I have to empathize with them like, okay, they're in the hospital, they're going through some issues, they have a lot of stress, they had this loss, they're having this depression that's making them feel this way. So if they call me the N word or call me, out my name or talk about my education and they have some perception, I can't take that personal. I can't take that as a personal attack. Of course, I transitioned into, if you deal with like a customer who's yelling at you when you're at work or a client or whoever it may be. But either way, whether it's a customer, a client, or you receive it, because you receive feedback from clients too. But if it's feedback from a supervisor, whoever, it's good to receive feedback, especially if they're giving it to you in a in a constructive way. But try to steer away from it being a personal attack towards you rather than an opportunity to grow. That's how we get feedback. We've been getting feedback ever since grade school. Every when we get grades, A, B, C, D, F, whatever, that is feedback. So you might get upset at a C or an F, but that feedback is telling you that you have an opportunity to grow and to do better and to put more effort. And that goes with personal relationships too. Relationships are hard and it takes growth and it takes hearing the feedback of that spouse. Because I know us women, we give feedback to our spouse very often. Women have no trouble giving their spouse feedback. And a lot of times they take it very well. But anyhow, it's a give and take, and it's an opportunity to grow when you hear that feedback from your spouse. And so it definitely involves a level of self awareness for you to be able to take that and use it as an opportunity to grow. So let's say you have lack of empathy. How's that going to affect you at work? You know, somebody might share some feelings that they may have, a colleague that you might be that might be dealing with some rough times, and you just dismiss it as something that just doesn't matter, and you just like, oh, they should just get over it. But you never know what they're going through. Or someone at work has an attitude, and you're just like, oh my God, why does she have such an attitude? And you yell at them, you cussing at them because, oh, well, she came at me this way. And then you later find out that they lost someone or something else is going on and they're stressed out. So, again, emotional intelligence involves a level of empathy and self awareness. If you have difficulty managing your emotions, check your emotional intelligence. Why can't I manage my emotions? They just get out of whack. You get angry, outbursts. There's a lot of kids that have outbursts. When you think about it, toddlers naturally do not have emotional intelligence, right? They're not self aware. They don't have empathy. Well, maybe some of them do. I don't know. Because when my toddler, when he starts crying and screaming because I opened his yogurt wrong, or when I open up his granola bar, it's broken. And I'm like, I did not break it. And he just freaks out. Or yesterday, he was in the car with my husband, and my husband turned right out of the school, and he always turns right out of the school. Yeah, but my toddler wanted him to turn left. He cried for 18 minutes straight. Whoa. Like, why are you crying? Because we didn't turn left. But it's normal. It's developmentally appropriate for a toddler not to have emotional intelligence. They can't manage their emotions. They don't have the social skills to be able to talk it through how they feel. They don't have that intellect to be able to think, okay, why do I feel this way? Why is it such a big deal that this cookie is broken or that my dad didn't turn left? Why? They don't have that. So it definitely takes a level of patience and a level of emotional intelligence for us parents to be able to be patient with these kids. So, anyhow, when you have a low level of emotional intelligence, you struggle with being able to manage your emotions and with stress management, being easily overwhelmed, panicking in stressful situations. Y'all know there's talk about the generation these days. Seems like I don't know if I should go there, but it seems like is it the Gen Z? Are we in Gen Z? Is there a generation under that, younger than that yet? But they're in their feelings. Yeah, they're in their feelings. Check your emotional intelligence. Like I said, I need to talk about this one often. All right. So that causes stress management issues as well as difficulty maintaining relationships, whether it's at work or at home. So having difficulty maintaining relationships means, you in and out of relationships or people don't want to be with you or you don't want to be with them, but you think it's them when really it's you. And that goes along with what I was saying earlier with jobs, like having multiple jobs, you getting fired multiple times or quitting multiple times because you think it's them. That's happening in relationships too. So if you're in and out of relationships or consistently having issues with relationships, check yourself. Are you in your feelings? And maybe look at your emotional intelligence. A lack of emotional intelligence also leads to being impulsive and not thinking. Just going by your feelings. I feel this way, so I'm gonna feel it and I'm gonna stay. And I'm just gonna keep thinking these thoughts. It's gonna keep me feeling this way. Why? 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 Think about how you're feeling and say, you know what? I don't want to continue to feel this way. Why am I feeling this way? What happened to make this emotion come? and work through that. But I'll get to that more in a little bit. Right now I'm talking about the result of a lack of emotional intelligence. So having a lack of self-awareness, you're just unaware of a negative attitude that you might have and how it could be affecting others around you. And if that is happening at work, that disrupts the work environment, that disrupts what you need to get done, that task you need to get done for that day, and that disrupts other people around you because you're not self aware. Or the inability to celebrate other people's success. Emotional intelligence can help with that. Low emotional intelligence leads you to be like, why did she get promoted and I didn't? Maybe celebrate them and say, "Ooh, yeah, they got it," and just genuinely be happy for them. But it's difficult to be happy for someone when you're in your feelings and when you're not able to celebrate because of not being able to manage your emotions. Having good social cues is a part of emotional intelligence. So, therefore, if you don't have that, you're unaware of certain social cues. You might misinterpret what somebody says, you might misinterpret what someone does. So, social cues are how we say things, and social cues are the nonverbal signals. My hands, what I do with my hands, or my facial expression, being able to understand someone's facial expression. And the way you say something can sound different, or what you say can sound different based on the way you say it. And then your body language or those nonverbal signals can convey how things are said depending on how you say it and what you do when you're saying it. Woo-hoo. There goes my mic. So you are have an unawareness of social cues if you have a low social emotional intelligence, and could lead to awkward social interactions. Sometimes I create awkward social interactions. My friends, they know that I'm willing to just say what's on my mind. Um, I don't get embarrassed that often. So sometimes I'll create a social interaction. It's such a random thing. But anyhow, um, so emotional intelligence can affect how you are at work and personally. So I mentioned how it can affect in ineffective communications and relationships, whether it's at your job or whether it's at home. Struggling with empathy can obviously make it hard for you to empathize with a friend. If a friend is having issues or struggling, then you're not there for them, or that friend feels unsupported, or even worse, that spouse feels unsupported, or your children feel unsupported. Being unable to control your anger when something happens. So I think you have a good understanding of what it means to be in your feelings, and when you don't have emotional intelligence, what that looks like. One of these days, I'm going to have a few extra people on here that's going to be talking. I have in the past. That's okay. Y'all can listen. I see you there. Um, so what are some practical strategies? How can you get emotional intelligence? So there are books on emotional intelligence. I'm currently listening to Emotional Intelligence 2.0, which is helpful. I just started it. But yeah, there's different parts to emotional intelligence. Like I said, so being self-aware, self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation is part of it, empathy, and social skills. So there's 5 parts to emotional intelligence. Self-awareness, I mentioned a few times, but it's the ability to be able to recognize and understand your own emotions, your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your motivations. So not just feeling for the sake of feeling, and not being worried with trying to figure out, why do I feel this way? Because emotions lead to certain thoughts and behaviors. So it's really important to stop at that. In general, our body feels emotions as a result to things that are coming into our brain. So as we sense things from the world, what comes out is our emotions. So our emotions is kind of like a sign of what's going on in the world. So if all of a sudden you sit and you feel like, oh my goodness, why do I feel so sad? What just happened? What made me feel sad? Actually, this happened to me. I was feeling really good, and then one morning, and then all of a sudden, I wasn't feeling good. And so, self awareness tells you to ask the questions of why do I feel this way all of a sudden? Did someone say something? What was I just doing? Was I on the phone and I saw something? I saw a notification? What was I just doing? And I realized that I was putting on my makeup a few minutes ago and I had said things about myself before I had my makeup on. I had said, you are starting to look old. You are starting to get those wrinkles coming through. You still have those acne scars. I said that to myself. And a few minutes later, I was feeling sad. So then, though, a few minutes later, when I was feeling sad, I thought, what happened? And I remembered those are the thoughts that I was telling myself when I looked in the mirror. And I said, oh, why did I do that? Why did I tell myself that? And so I replaced it with, you are beautiful. You still look really young. That acne scars are still there, but I replaced it with, I don't care. I might have acne scars, but I'm still really beautiful. Positive affirmations. So when I checked myself and realized I was saying negative thoughts to myself, why would I do that? And it made me feel bad. So then, with that self management, I decided to give myself positive affirmations, and I felt better because we feel better when we talk nicely to ourselves. So whether something's true or not, like you talk about yourself and you say, I'm short. I mean, it might be true that you're short, but embrace it and say, I'm short, but I have a great personality. I'm short and maybe not I'm short, but because if you say I'm short, but the but implies that there is something wrong with being short. So you could say, I'm short and I can say, I have acne scars and I'm beautiful. So that makes me feel better than, oh, I have acne scars and I'm ugly, right? So that's important. And I'm glad I realized that because it definitely made me feel a lot better. So, understanding your emotion. What are your strengths and weaknesses? So, it's kind of what I was just been talking about. So, if your height or how you look or your skin or certain things are your weaknesses, embrace that and tell yourself, you know what, that's okay. I have this, but these are my strengths. I have this, and these are my strengths, and these are my values and motivation. So recognizing your emotional state at any given time, it's a second by second thing. Your emotions can change by seconds, by minutes, by hours, of course, by days. So understanding how your emotions affect your thoughts and behaviors is very important when it comes to self-awareness. Being aware of how your actions impact others, knowing your strengths and your limitations. So the benefit of this leads to better decision making. Because if you're feeling better and you're not in your feelings, you're making decisions, objective decisions off of not off of emotions, but off of things that are practical. And it increases your self confidence. And you have a greater understanding of what drives you and not being driven by emotions. Does that make sense? Self regulation, the other part of emotional intelligence. Self regulation involves controlling or redirecting disruptive emotions and adapting to the changing circumstances. Because circumstances are going to change, emotions are going to come, but it doesn't mean you have to stay with those emotions. You can redirect those emotions. The same way you can redirect your thoughts, you can redirect your emotions. So if something happens, somebody yells at you and looked at you some way, and that made you feel angry, and you think to yourself, why am I angry because they looked at me that way? What really was I thinking? I was thinking that maybe they thought I was ugly or maybe they thought I was stupid. But why am I thinking that? I'm not stupid. I'm not ugly. That's their problem. They're looking at me. That's their problem. Oh, I have no reason to feel upset. Talking yourself through that. It goes into that self dialogue, that internal dialogue that you have. So, reframing your internal dialogue, managing impulsive feelings and distressing emotions well. That is a part of self regulation. Staying calm and clear headed under stress, being able to say no or speak up when necessary, and adapting to change with a positive attitude. That's important. It's easy to go with what your emotions are feeling. It's hard to go against what you're feeling, right? My favorite quote is from Leave the League of Their Own. It's it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. It's the hard that makes it great. So that goes with everything, not just the baseball, because that's a baseball movie. I love that movie. But that's what got me through medical school. Medical school was hard. Getting to medical school was hard. So I said, well, it's supposed to be hard because if it's supposed to be hard because if you don't do it, if everybody doesn't do it, now I'm just butchering it, even though I just got it right. I should have just left it with saying it the first way. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. So do those things. I can do hard things. There's that plug, Jess Sims, one of my favorite Peloton instructors. I can do hard things. Get excited in challenging situations. The benefit of self regulation helps you maintain stability and consistency in challenging situations, building trustworthiness with others, and allows you to have thoughtful decision making. So, motivation. So, we said self awareness, self management. Motivation is a part of emotional intelligence. Motivation in the context of EI refers to being driven to achieve for the sake of achievement, not just for external rewards. So you're not looking to be the best person ever. You just want to have great relationships and do well at work. So it's good to be motivated to achieve emotional intelligence so that you're not in your feelings and so that you don't have lack of communication and faltering relationships because that's what ends up happening. Motivation leads to higher levels of achievement, more energy, focus, and a deeper sense of fulfillment and joy. Journey to joy. We love joy, don't we? Well, I love joy. That's why I talk about joy and how you can experience it. It's definitely very important. I'm checking my time here. I knew it. I knew it. This subject is a vast subject. It's already 30 minutes, but that's okay. Well, I'm going to push through because I only have two more parts to emotional intelligence, and I do want to circle back at some point in the future, another episode of part two. But let's just get through the next two of these. So we talked about self awareness, self regulation, motivation, and then empathy. Empathy is a part of emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So being able to recognize why another might be feeling a certain way or that another person may be feeling a certain way. You may not know why, but just recognize that there could be something else going on and just go on with the flow. Understanding their perspective. They have a perspective, you have a perspective. Everybody believes that their perspective is right, but maybe someone else has something going on that might conflict with your perspective, and that's okay. So just develop a genuine interest in and concern for others' well being. Help others. So motivate empathy helps you understand others emotions and their reactions. They might have a certain reaction, it might be a reason for it. So it helps with better communication, better relationships when you care about what the other person is feeling and that they have feelings that could be the reason for and there's reason for it. And just in general fosters a more collaborative environment. Lastly, social skills. Remember, I said not having good emotional intelligence leads to lack of ability to understand or read someone's body language or nonverbal signals. So, having social skills in emotional intelligence are about managing relationships effectively and being able to influence and inspire others and navigate social environments great when you are able to recognize social cues and understand that. It helps you with effective communication, listening, building and maintaining positive relationships, managing conflicts constructively, leading, influencing, and inspiring others. What if you struggle with this? What if you can't do this? What if you just try to do it on your own and it's not possible? Get help, and it's okay. You can read some books. I mentioned the book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. You can reach out and work through this with your therapist. It could be that, you know what, I heard about this EI thing, this emotional intelligence. I'm getting fired from my job a lot. I'm quitting a lot. I'm struggling with feedback. I'm so emotional. I'm impulsive. What could be going on? Is it just only with my emotional intelligence and maybe I can improve on that? Is there something else going on? Do I struggle because I'm depressed? I'm suffering from anxiety, or there's been traumas that I haven't been able to process and get over. And maybe that's why that is affecting my emotional intelligence. Am I burnt out at work? Do I suffer from hallucinations that are telling me, literally, hearing voices that are telling me that I suck and that I should kill myself? Do I struggle from commanding hallucinations like that? If that is the case, you definitely want to reach out and get help and see a psychiatrist, see your primary care physician who can refer you to a mental health specialist or a therapist. So that is always my plug, is what to do if you can't do these things on your own. Therapy, reach out and get help. Thank you for listening to In My Feelings. Remember that I am live here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Relationships are coming up in February, because we always think of February as the love month because of Valentine's. So there's going to be a lot of relationship talk, sex talk in February. So be there. Come see, questions, comments, all of that. Follow me, like, subscribe, right? Because if you're not following and sharing, then people don't get to hear this awesome advice. Because somebody might be going through something. They say, oh, I heard that podcast, and that's how I got help. I'm also accepting patients in Enjoy Life LLC. So you can go to www.drenjoylife.com. So that's DRNJOYLIFE.com. And you can request a consultation to see me. Thank you, you all. See you next week.